Okay, how is everybody doing?
Good, good.
That's nice.
Doing good, Rajesh. Thank you.
Good, Rajesh. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. I'm good too. I'm good.
Okay.
A little bit busy, but it's good.
Okay.
Okay, so we can start. Immediately after this, I have a call. So we will cover one topic and stop. If you want, you can do some problems from this particular portion. So what we are going to cover is extremely important, especially for machine learning and deep learning. As we all know, any machine learning model, you need to have data. So these data sources could be databases, conventional databases, or it could be files, the flat files. So it's important that we know how to read data. And now onwards, what I'm going to cover is mainly what is required for machine learning. So we need to know how we can read data from a physical file. And in maybe next week, what I will do is I will talk about the collections, the data sets called collection, like list, directory, tuples, and set, because that is also important. And additionally, the week after that, probably we need to see how to read data from a database. So how are you all familiar with the basic SQL before I go there? The SQL, the so-called SQL.
Sure.
Do you have basics there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we can just go and understand the basic database operations. Since you know the SQL or SQL, that is going to be very helpful. So today we will focus on reading the files. I'll cover the topic, and then if you all want to continue and then do some problems together, you can do that. Especially you can create a file, read data, and manipulate the data a little bit. This is very important. So having said that, we will start the topic. So the first thing is, so far, whatever we have been doing as Python program, we were reading data from the main memory of the computer, which is called random access memory. So that means the data is stored within the main memory. But that may not be the case as always. The data will be stored in a secondary memory, which is hard disk, or it could be an external drive device, or it could be from a network location. So all these are secondary memory. Conventionally, it was hard disk, but here the data could be stored in a remote network location. So the question is, how do you programmatically get the data into your main memory and use that in your program? So that's the file operations. And ever since you studied the programming language, from basic to COBOL to C to C++, this I'm sure you might have done. So let's see how this can be done in Python. So when we talk about the file processing, like a file, typically a file can be thought of as a sequence of lines. So just like here, it's an email that is cut and pasted to a file. So the file has a lot of lines, lines after lines. It could be structured, or it could be semi-structured sometimes, and it could be completely unstructured. So here we are completely going with an unstructured file. So that's what it is being shown here. So how does this file will be stored? Like it would be a .text file, or there could be some specific extension like .doc. There are .excel file. There are different categories of file. Let's assume that it is a text file. Then this could be like a file.text, and it can be stored in a directory. or it can be stored in a network location. That is how it is. So now let's see how to, what exactly is the steps you need to read the data from a file. The first thing you need to remember is, before the Python can manipulate any data from a file, first you have to do open the file. So think about like it is to means you have to open the file before you can read data. So that is, there is a function in Python which is called open. And when you call this open function, naturally the argument would be what? What would be the input argument here?
File name.
Correct. With the path. The file name with the path, right?
Right.
If you just give the file name, where it will search for the file?
In the same folder that Python is being run from.
Exactly. In the same folder, in the same directory where the program is running. So if the file is stored in a different location, you need to give the correct path. And then what exactly this open function is going to return? It returns something called the handle. So handle is a variable name. It's a kind of a pointer. It's a variable through which you can perform the other operations. So when you say that open a file, say abc.text, the function will return a value, and that value can be stored in a variable. And thereafterwards, that using that variable, you can read data from this text, or even you can write data into that file. So this is what the logic is. So the important concept is that before you try to use the file, use the open function to open the file, which returns a handle, and that handle is used for doing the file operations. So this is the first step. So this is how the file, the command is there. So you have to give the handle and then open the file name. And the second argument is known as mode, the mode of the file operations. What could be the mode? Any programming language you have done, you might be remembering.
Yeah, read or write.
Read or write. Yeah. It is an optional argument. So if you omit that argument, what would be the mode?
Read.
Read. That's it. And this file name can be it means it is a string. So you can give the value as a string. And the mode, it can be read and write. The only time you need to put that value is when it is a write. Okay, so this is the example, right? So like mbox.text, and it is stored in the same directory as that of the program. And then what you can do is you can open the file, you can read data from the file, you can write data into the file, and finally you can close the file. This is the typical this is how you operate. So you will see when we start doing the neural networks, this is how we are going to do. So here, what you have to do is, if there is a file called inbox.txt, you can say f handle. F handle is a variable that is used to store the handle of the file. And when you use this function open, understand that this is a function. It is not the method of any class. It's a standard built-in Python function. You need to understand the difference between a method of a function versus a function, built-in function, right? These are two different things. So open inbox.txt, what is going to happen is this file will be opened and the handle will be stored in fhand. And thereafterwards, if you say print fhand, what is going to be printed? What was your expectation? You thought the content of the file will be printed, right? No.
No,
it will just print the data type, what type of that data. So it will say that what type of file it is that. So it will say that it's this is the file, file name is inbox.txt, and the mode of operation of this handle is R, and the encoding of that file is Unicode. That is UTF-8. That is what it prints. Now the important question is, how do you manipulate or read or write the data of the file you just opened? So let's go. But before that, a couple of things. For example, when you say, assume that you gave this command, function, stuff.text. If you get this error, what happened? File do not find. When do you get that error?
Try to read a file.
Yeah, if that file doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist in the current directory.
Correct, exactly. So sometimes the most common error would be you put a typo,
Yeah.
the intended file. This is the common error you get.
You can do a try on that, right?
What is that?
You can do a try.
Yeah, you can try. So once I cover this, I mean,
No. A try catch is what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Error handling.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. I'll show you. That's what we put at the end. That's a good practice. So next is Newline Character. So what is Newline Character? In C onwards, you are seeing, right?
Next record.
It's a special character. It's a special character called a new line. It indicates that the line ends there. So if you put something like this, hello / and world, and if you print this stuff, how does it going to print? First, it will print hello, then it will insert a new line. So what is the meaning of that slash?
Character return.
Slash. Yeah, so slash indicates that skip or forget the regular meaning of the next character. So there are a lot of special character which you can use /t. /t is what?
Tab.
So the meaning of that backslash is, it just tells the interpreter here. It just tells the interpreter that forget the usual, traditional, conventional meaning of the next character. That's what it is. So here, if an n is followed with the slash, it means that it is a new line. So that's what it is. So here, stuff x / y, if you print stuff, what is going to happen? X, next line, y. So if you take the length of this particular command, how much it is going to come? Hello / and world. What would be the size?
10.
This?
11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
12.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is 12, right? Because the question is how many character / is counting?
One character.
Only one character. It is not 2 character.
Yeah.
Now the question is, if you need a real slash, what do you do?
Double slash.
Yeah, double slash.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the next one is how you process this file, right? So as I explained earlier, the text file can be considered as a sequence of lines. So here you can see when you look at the file, like this is one line. Every line means you can say that a sequence of line. And what is a sequence means by anyway? Remember when we studied for loop, I explained what is a sequence.
Set of lines.
It's a set. It's a collection. That is the right word, because set is another data type. So you have set, tuple, directory, list. All are kind of what you call sequence. Even the string we studied, right? Last session we talked about string. String is a collection of a sequence of characters. String is a sequence of characters. So here a text file can be considered as a sequence of lines. That's what it is. So let's see how to use it. And then a text file can have maybe means a text file has basically, whenever you have next line, practically how it is handled is there is a slash n at the end. So let's say that in the previous example, right here, at this point of time, you have a new line. Technically, what you can do is you can have just one endless line. But practically we do, when we create the file, we will create it as lines by line. So if the slash n is not inserted, there is only one line, but that's a huge line. It goes outside the boundary of the monitor, it goes all the way line. But if it is slash n, sorry, if it is multiple lines, what is going to happen is the slash n will be there. So here there is a slash n, here there is another 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 slash n, and this line has one slash n because this is a blank line. So at this point of time, there is a slash n, and finally there is a slash n, and that is what is being represented here. This is how that file will be looking like. So please understand this. So if you take the length and all, you need to keep that in mind. So now let's go to the next topic, how to read data from the file. Okay. So here what happens is you have to first use the file handle, and then what you can do a for loop. What is the difference between when do you use for loop and when do you use while loop? Last week we studied it, right?
For loop is when you
we know the
end
limit,
end
we
of
use the
file.
for limit.
Yeah.
Right. Here why I can use the for loop? Remember the
Because you
previous
get to the
I
end of
said,
file.
Interval increment. With
the
starting
reason
and
why I can use a for loop is, remember the syntax of for loop? For a variable in, what is the next argument? Next type? Sequence.
It's a list.
It's a sequence. No,
Listers.
not a list. List is a sequence.
Yeah.
More generic word is sequence.
Mhm.
Because see, remember when we studied for, we said for a variable in a sequence. Sequence means it can be a list, it can be a tuple, it can be a directory. Sorry, yeah, it can be a yeah, means the last one is set.
Set and dictionary too.
Yeah, it is set, dictionary, and finally it can be even a string.
String.
So what happens is every time the loop executes, the loop variable, initially it will be the first item in that sequence. Next time it will be the next item in that sequence. Next item will be in the sequence. That is how it iterates. So here, when you use the open inbox text, what you got is a file handle. So this file handle can be considered as a sequence. It can be considered as a sequence of what?
Lines in
Lines.
the file.
Exactly. It can be considered as a sequence of strings, right? Every line is a string. So what happens is when what would be the value of this cheese when this loop execute first time?
First line.
Let's say that, yeah, exactly. So in this particular example, this line will print first. And second iteration of the loop, what will print? This. Third iteration of the loop, this will print. Like that, how many items are there in that list? Or not list, the sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items are there in that sequence. First time, it will print this. That would be the loop variable. Second time, this will be the loop variable. Third time, this will be the loop variable. Fourth time, this. Fifth, this. Sixth, this. Seventh, an empty line. And eighth, this. Clear? It's very simple, in fact. So this is what happens. Sequence is an ordered set because the order is there. Okay. So now, how many lines are there? So how do you write a program to see how many lines are there in that file?
You will
Can
count
you
the
tell?
number of cheeses.
Yeah. So how do you write this code?
In between the print and the for, you'll just add,
Initialize the counter outside
have a
and then
variable
keep on
which you
incrementing.
increment one by one.
Yep. So where do you initialize the variable?
Outside the for.
Yeah.
Correct. So what would be the initial value?
0.
0. And where do you write that count?
Between the for and the print.
Yep. Or even down the print is also fine, as long as it is within
Indentation.
that block.
Right.
Remember, Python is a block structured language, right? So anything you intended, that the beginning and the end of the block is determined based on the indentation, right? Remember?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what it is. So here you initialize the variable count as 0, and here count equal to count plus 1, and finally means you can print the value of the count. So here 13,045 means what?
That
The number of lines.
That many lines were there. Okay.
Rajaji, you could also do a len or a size on file handler, right?
Length, if you do, what would you get?
The number of characters in there.
Correct. Let's talk about that. It is an interesting question. Length, it's slightly different. I'll come there. You will get a different answer, but let's wait it. So
Okay.
that's exactly what we are going to say. So
it will add the number of characters and the spaces and everything as characters.
Yeah. So read the whole file. So here, what we did was we put print length of this. So it showed 94626. So if you do this, what would be the output? Can we do that now? Just create a file. Just create a file in your current directory. Anybody who want to volunteer that? Just do that. Let's do it. Who has the Jupyter notebook open?
I got it open.
Okay, so can you share the screen, Jeevan? Let's do that.
Oh, sorry, I have it in.
Oh, the 4. Nobody has it?
computer.
I can do it. I don't have Jupyter, I have PyCharm, but I guess that will work.
That's fine. Yeah, of course that will work. So can you share the screen, Arnabji?
Absolutely. How do I
let's
do
see
that?
the difference. Just click share the screen. I will stop sharing the screen.
Okay.
Or let's wait at the end. Probably once. Do it. Yep, that's good. So just in your current folder, create a file called inbox.txt or something like that. abcd.txt. And put 3 lines there. And one blank line. And let us.
And then another Python file. So this is your flow. So I don't need to import anything, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah, you don't need to import anything. Just do.
Or it's just open, right? What am I doing exactly for reading the first?
Yeah, you're just using length you just calculate, you're opening the file and getting the value in a handle.
You need to create a text file also with something in there.
Yeah, you need to create a text file, otherwise it will not work.
I text file meaning I did this, right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Do you see?
Yeah. See it. Yeah.
Oh, should I increase my resolution
Yeah,
if
I
it's too
think
small?
Yes.
Yeah.
Too small. 1 second.
Yes, Arnab, I think you need to increase your font size.
Yeah, let me just do that.
Looks like it was black color, not able to see it.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything.
Oh,
Just it.
sorry.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
This
Just
is good.
execute
This
it.
is good,
That's
yeah.
all. I just wanted to see the result. That's all.
Is this better?
Yeah, this is good. This is good.
Yep.
This is good. Okay.
Yep.
So this is a test file.
Yeah, open it and
This is
then,
like, and then I'm opening it.
and just
And
take the length.
yeah.
Length of the handle.
Oh, length of just the handle?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just print the length of that handle. Print len of the handle.
Yeah. Yes. That's it, right?
Yep.
Should I also print content?
No, you just print it. Like, I just need the length and execute it.
Yeah.
Reason I'm doing is, it is your question, right? So let's see.
Right.
So technically, if it gives the length of everything, it should be the length of all the thing. What is the error? I cannot see it properly. Yep, that's fine. You can read.
Object of type IO text IO wrapper has no length, so
No,
I can't do length on.
You have to read the
Okay.
file, right, Rajesh? Don't you have to read the file and then do that content on that?
Yeah, you have to read.
Yeah.
I get the same.
Yeah, no, I intentionally put the handle. So that is the first thing. If you take the length of the handle, it will fail. Okay.
Yeah, it will.
So the second point is, you can read the content of the file, and then you
Right.
can take the length. So let's do that.
Right.
So just take a variable, say whatever it is, and say the handle dot read, and then take the length of that variable.
Right.
So first thing is, you cannot, even though the handle is a sequence, you cannot take the length of that handle. It will fail. You cannot just like take the length, just like you take the length of a string, you cannot take the length of a handle. Now the
Right.
second thing you are doing is, you're reading the content of the file into a variable, and naturally that variable will be a string, and you can take the length of that string.
Right. So it gave me the length of that string. It's
Yes.
57. Rajaji, can you see my screen now, or is it still not visible?
Let me see.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I can see, but I think you can. Maybe you can.
I think we should increase it a bit more.
But that's
Okay,
fine.
let me just make it in presentation mode.
Mhm.
So do you want me to share? I also have it.
Yeah.
Now we can see.
Why don't you?
No, I think this is good. I think I just wanted
Okay.
to clarify that because now you won't forget, because a lot of people make the mistake, take the length of the handle, and I really wanted to convey that message. That was the only intent. So let's go back. Okay, so
Yeah.
let me share.
So Rajaji, you can't do a length on the handle, but you can do for content on the handle.
Yes, you can. For loop is fine, but you cannot do the length. So
Length, okay.
yeah, you can go to the forum and you can see a lot of people asking this question. So since you asked the question, that's why let's stop and demonstrate. Now you now you forget it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's say, so here what you can do is, means this is exactly what you did now.
Right.
So I can technically just say that, but now it is very clear. So once you read the content into the string, you can print, say, a subset, or all the string operations can be used. Remember, last week we talked about a lot of string operations, like you can search the occurrence of a particular. Remember the function find? We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
There is a function, it's called to find. So if you say find at, that means it will return the location of that, the occurrence of that substring within the main string. So please be familiar with that string operations, because each topic we cover, it is very much important for machine learning, because sometimes you may have to parse these strings. Not a lot, but at least we need that. So here, what does that this indicates?
The first 20 characters of the first line.
Starting from
Could you
0.
just put, could you put this in your code?
Yes.
Yeah. No, this is fine. Means if you put this
Yeah.
in your code, you had only how many? 67 characters, right?
57, yeah.
Yeah, 57.
57.
But,
So if you put that, tell me the result.
It'll show you the first 20
I
characters.
think it will. Is it inclusive of 20? Yeah, it is. So it should be first 20. Yeah.
So the next question, once you're done, I have a couple of more ask on this.
Right.
You got it?
Just give me 1 second, Rajesh.
Yeah.
I'll just.
Yeah, take your time.
What is your question, Rajesh?
The question is print the first 20 characters.
Yeah, I tried it. It's printing first 20 characters.
Good. Can you print the last 20 characters?
So okay, let me try that.
I'm just making you do some string example you did last week, because this is very important.
Last 20 is colon minus 20.
Yep. Got it? Two more example. Don't do it now, but do it when I leave or later today. Can you find the occurrence of at and extract next 10 character from there? I want 10 characters after the occurrence of at.
So I'm able to get it last 20 characters.
Oh,
What is next one? You need to find a character from there. You need to extract
No,
20.
I want the occurrence, which character I have, which is the index for the character at. Oh, you don't have an at.
Find. Okay, that's okay. I can make at. That's not a problem.
Just put an email ID in your file.
Okay, and then you want me to understand the first occurrence of that symbol, at symbol.
At, and then I want that email address to be extracted, assuming that at is representing an email. And that, don't do that now. You can do that later. This is all string manipulation function. Okay, so now the next one is, how do you search through a file? That's what I was telling here. So what you can do is, so here what happens is you have a file handle, you open the file, and this for loop, basically it scans through or iterate through every line. And what you can do is, this is again string function. So you can look for what from. So if there is a line starting with from, you want to print that line. So what you may have to do is, this is again string function, which we talked 2 weeks back. So you can just say that start with whatever word, then print it. So you have 100 lines, let's assume that, in that file. And the first occurrence of, it means if at all any of these lines starts with the word from, that line will be printed. Do you want to do it, or are you clear with this? If you want to do it in a second, because this is important. So basically your file is a sequence of lines, and every line, what we are trying to do is, if that line starts with the character from, we are printing it, and that is the code on the screen. You're good, right? Or
Yeah, no, this is good.
okay, good. So you can do that. The next is, when you, okay, so if you print this, like if you get an output like this, from, this is the output of the previous program. What you're seeing is, you're seeing a blank line. What does that mean? Here what is going to happen is, each line from the file has a new line at the end. So when you print here, what is going to happen? That new line will force to skip one line, and each iteration will force another new line. And that is why when you print it, there is 2 blank spaces. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So now, how to search through a file. So we already saw that. What happens is, there is a function called rstrip. Rstrip, what it will do is, if there is a white space, we can strip it, because sometimes what is going to happen is, these lines will have empty blank spaces at the end. Do you remember we already talked about this rstrip, lstrip, and strip? So if you want to remove these white spaces, you can use this function rstrip. Again, it says string function.
It's similar to trim.
Yeah, similar to trim. So there is an rstrip, lstrip, strip. So now we talked about this earlier, like in this particular function, right? In this particular block of code, what we do is, we open the file in the file handle, and then what we did was, we each line we stored that into the variable line, because this is a sequence. Each iteration will store the corresponding line, means into this variable line, and we try to rstrip it. And if it is not starting with the word from, what did we do? We use the continue. So can you explain what exactly it is happening here? What will happen here?
If the line does not start with from, it will skip that line and go on to the next one and keep looping.
Yeah. So if what are all the lines that will be printed here?
The lines will start with from.
Yeah. And what about the right strip?
Without the spaces in between.
Yeah. So the rstrip, is that going to happen for all lines, or only with the line starting with the from?
All lines.
No, it will happen for all the lines.
So essentially, it means you will strip all the lines, but if at all a line starts with from, that will be printed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Clear? Everybody's clear with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's go to the next concept. So here, what is going to happen is, so what you did is, again, you opened the file, and then for each line, you tried this rstrip. So essentially, every line will be right stripped. So what happens if not ZA in line? So what we will do is, if the line do not have this variable, what is going to happen? It will not be printed.
Mhm.
Again, this is a string operation which will check the occurrence or the availability of a line of a particular sequence of character or a substring within a string. That's it. So here you can see how it is being. So this is the file. So this file has this occurrence. So basically that line will be printed. And here it has this occurrence. That line will be printed. Here it has every line printed will have this substring. And this can be done without writing a large code. If it is some other programming language, you have to write a sequence of line to do this. So
Yes.
here it's very, very easy and very simple. Just use that in command. So it's a string. It means it will just check if that character, sequence of character, occurs in the next sequence. So it checks one sequence occurs in that other sequence. That's it. So this is very easy, very useful. All these are very much needed later. So please pay attention to all these functions.
It
Okay.
says here note, right?
What is that? It's
The previous example,
yeah. If it is not, what is going to happen? It will continue.
yeah,
That means it will go directly from here. If it is true, what is going to happen? It will print. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So next is prompting for the file name. So what happens is essentially you're asking the user to enter a file name, and when the user enter that file name, where you will save it, F name, and then what you do, you can use that as an argument of the open function. So you don't need to hard code the value. You can ask the user to enter a file name. So if the user enter with a directory structure, that will be used. And then essentially what you do, some function, right? What it doesn't matter. But here what we are trying to do was this, enter the file name. So what is the advantage? Earlier, that program can be used for opening only one file. Now it's a generalized concept. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Next is bad file names. So this is what Rajesh, you were talking earlier. So initially itself we talked, if this file name is not valid, what is going to happen? It will give
Throw
an
an error.
exception.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can use the try except. Remember this? I think we talked about this, right?
Yep.
Exception handling already. Yep. So what is, can somebody explain this? What is the meaning of this try and except?
So basically it's like in Java, you have a similar thing in the form of try catch.
Yep.
So what happens is that whenever that line open F name, if F name is an invalid string, meaning it's not a valid file name, then like basically Python will not be able to open that file.
Mhm.
And whenever that happens, it internally throws something called an exception.
Mhm.
It's an object that is thrown by
Yep.
that particular line of code, and like
Instead
that
of
can be
program
caught.
crashing, right? Instead of program crashing,
Yeah,
it will execute this. That's it.
it
Right?
gives you an opportunity to handle or come out of that error
Yeah.
situation.
That's it. So this is what we saw today. So we saw how to access data from secondary storage, how to open a file, and the concept of file handle. And we talked about the file structure as a sequence of lines or sequence of strings. And we saw that every line in the string enters with a Newline character. And then we saw how to read through every line of the string using a for loop, because very simple, because the file, when you means the file itself is a sequence, so you can easily read every line. And we saw how to search for lines, and also we search for lines means we saw two examples, right? We saw if a line contains a particular sequence, and we saw if a line start with a sequence. Also So right, if at all there is a occurrence of a particular character in a line, all those we saw, and we saw that you can read the file name from the user and use that in your file operation. And finally, we saw how to deal with bad files, so using exception handling. So that's all we need to know for string operations.
What's the secondary storage?
Secondary storage means it's not main memory. So it could be your hard disk, or it could be a drive attached to your computer. So means the computer architecture. The computer has main memory, which is known as random access memory. And then there are secondary memories. And the secondary memory is called hard disk. And this random access memory is a volatile memory, meaning when you switch off the computer, what is going to happen? It won't be saved. So when you save this information, that will be lost. So that's where the secondary memory is used. Okay, so I would suggest go and do some exercises. Please practice this. Next week, we'll cover 2, if possible, 4 collection objects. So a dictionary, set, tuples, and list. So I have to go quickly, but we will do that. And then we will see how to operate these database operations, basic database operations. And I may not do any HTTP and all. We can do that later if anybody is interested, because I really want to get into the NumPy and start doing vectorized operations, how to implement differentiation, all those things we are going to proceed. So the general Python we will complete in next 3 sessions, and then we will go to the specific Python which is needed for machine learning, right? So anybody want to continue the Python? This Python for everybody is there. Rajesh, could you give that Eric book also to this group? There is a Eric, there is a book, right? We had that in our library.
I think it is in the library. Yeah, we have it in the share. Eric
that,
Williams.
Yeah, and practicepython.org. There is a site, or Python practice, right? There is a site.
Yeah, practice Python. I think we shared that also in the group.
Yeah. Please do the exercises, because actually without doing it, you won't get the fluency.
Which database do you want us to use?
Any database is fine.
No, I mean we need to have something on the machine, right? So that's why I'm asking. I mean, should we go with the
Access is
fine. Access is good.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll talk later, right? You need to understand a simple database and a medium-sized database.
Should we install something like MySQL or something like that?
No. If you want to install, that's fine, totally fine. Yeah.
But
something open
but
source.
Rajesh, we will have to be doing SQL, right? It has to be a SQL database.
Yeah. No, you're right. It means we have to use a SQL. So MySQL is fine. But we won't. I won't use much SQL right now, because all these machine learnings are files.
Okay.
All these data sets
flat files. Yeah, okay.
Flat files.
Sure.
Because if you go to Kaggle, all the examples, because that's the source we are going to use to download the files.
Right.
So
those
files are majority of these files are text files.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought this session is important. So I have to join another call. So I will drop. If you want to continue, you can do a few of these examples, because as I always say, like, this appears to be very simple right now when you see the PowerPoint, but it is, you may not get it if you don't do it. So please practice it.
Yeah, sure.
So we'll continue. I will have to cover a couple of topics on the differentiation. We will do that on Monday. Basically, this backward pass, right? So how does the differentiation works? And also I have to prove how the simple differential equation works. Du by db equal to du by dA times dA by dB. So that formula we need to prove through an intuitive example. And then we will go to the, actually we'll come back to the machine learning and do the backward pass of the logistic means the neural network. So that will be the next couple of weeks. And hopefully by that time we'll get into the Python, because I really wanted to start all these problems in Python. So please be ready with Python by that time. Practice more.
Sure.
Okay, so stay
Sure.
safe and be healthy, and that's very, very important. And actually, means I always say in the other classes, all our Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta classes, use this as a reading challenge. So this is being a technical group, I would suggest to read something good in technology, right? So you can read about cloud computing, at least the basics understanding, and read about means artificial intelligence we covered. So at least all these technology verticals you can read. So anybody want to suggest, means, or read some original book. For example, read about little bit about operating system, read about computer networks, read about database management system. It's a good read, like it will refresh. Good.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I guess everybody's dropping off.
I don't know. Are you staying back to practice some exercises?
I don't mind. At
I
least for
don't either.
yeah, at least for another half an hour, I don't mind.
Yeah, I think Anu he is there, and a couple of people are still there. So, I mean, those who want to stay back, we are going to look at the Python practice site and go through some exercises on there.